low?
If we talk, they can hear us really easily because that's right here. So yeah.
So yes.
So yes, it's low. Y'all can keep talking though. That didn't mean stop.
Well, I went to, had to go by my daughter's house this morning, so I said, it was a nice sunrise, so.
Is that them?
West side.
Is it four that are presenting along with Amy?
Yeah. That's it. I'm closing up all my stuff. Put your we're gonna have everybody put their phone on airplane mode so that I'm not competing with anybody for internet. Cause look, I've got one bar, two.
So sure enough, I'm gonna walk over there, fall out of the tree. Like, so I had to shoot from down there.
So I'm worried it's gonna be
100 feet from the shop.
You mean it's a circle, the part of the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, just right, yeah.
no, that's the old one. That's the one I
So
want right
you
there.
know, I got another 150 feet up there. Sure enough, the circle, sure is what I'm talking about.
Really,
It was close.
could have been closer
It was been close
From-
it'd have been
from.
the nearest. No, it'd be closer to here. Not one to one, you know.
Yeah, I know, no, just one.
It would have been closer to the office. It was far. Yeah, skip. I looked and and I don't know, sometimes I. But I was on it the whole time, I think it was between shot before, shot after, shot. I mean, 30 frames a second. Or you could be little super.
Hey Chris, should I make a separate post? I just stuck a link in the comments.
Oh, this was easy. This is no water touching. Just fish out, no, and he picked it clean. I mean, there's no extra water.
Fun to see the pictures on the big screen, eh?
I know. Beautiful. That's not good.
No, I'm getting those shots for bone density. Because of these, and Venti. I see commercials on it. Anyway, so it's shots once a month, 12 months. And it increases your bone density. End of 12 months, end of 12 months, you go on a regular, like twice a year. Get more shots.
I hope it's not like, Fosamax.
Yeah, I
That
just,
costs more.
right. Yeah, I used to take that. So anyway, very excited about it. And
Yeah.
they're very expensive if you have insurance.
So what I broke on my foot was the fifth metatarsal, like right close to the ankle. And he said it wasn't a bad break and that you should boot was some trouble to work.
And you didn't have to have surgery.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just a very simple little break. But I broke my glasses and cut my eyebrow and have a huge robin's egg right here and just bruises and scrapes everywhere. Are you still going to the yoga class?
See, I just started basically, I think I've been there like 5 times. And I went because two people from church go, they invited me, but then they never came back. But they might talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'll be back, I just need to wait for my foot to heal.
Right.
I think the teachers were the one that
Yes.
they had, I like the.
Yeah, I do too. Right. And I like the.
And it's so close.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
helpful.
Is it 10 o'clock in the morning? That's a good time.
Yeah. Mary Sue and I are in a book club that meets every other Monday, so at best I was only able to go to the yoga class on the opposite Mondays.
Oh,
But I didn't have the club.
Just a second motion. So, shot as previously.
Not how the babies managed to get eaten after they got out of the nest with this many coyotes and bobcats as we have in the neighborhood. Yeah, I've seen coyotes in the neighborhood and imagine that there's probably bobcats around the lake as well.
They would fly around. Just
Yeah, especially when they're just brand new out of the nest.
Uh-huh, yeah, when they can't really escape.
I'm driving away.
Maybe Nick and Nora are scaring away and they're looking on the ground.
All right. Look at that one, Robert.
Another picture.
Jeez, Eric's going on a Pecos trip too. Eric is the Harvard lacrosse player that I went to dinner with. I had no idea he was going. I mean, I know almost the entire group. crowd in the background.
I know, look at everybody in the back. But that was the last time I saw all three.
Sibling rivalry.
All right, is your phone muted?
I don't ever turn it off.
Too much awareness. Yeah.
Did you notice they lost a feather on this one?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah. Here goes my repeat.
What?
I was pulling it up just to make sure it looked okay, and I've got my ringer off, so I don't know why it's picking up volume.
If you're in airplane mode, you can't check that.
I am not, but everybody else is, or should be. All right, and there's our thank you page, and then we restart. So the PowerPoint's just gonna cycle through a few times until we start it, the thing, and I'll zoom out and get the whole stage.
Okay.
All right. Airplane. So I've got this one in airplane mode too.
A little bit delayed, but it's running. You already got 5 visitors.
Oh, did that post? Chris was gonna pin it to the top of the page.
Read all the stuff for the next.
Oh wow,
That's the coot.
cute.
That's a coot. Oh.
Mark's out of the country too, right? Well, I'll get out. It's running. Oh, shoot. It finally got acknowledged. Charles got nominated for
Oh,
Best.
nice. Their crawfish are delicious.
Several, actually.
You're not lying.
So is everybody just over here? Is over
I'm posting links to things. We knew you'd be a troublemaker if you were over here.
This whole place is restricted.
All right, we're letting in the boards. Hold on.
All right, here come the people. Oh, shoot.
Where's the kiddos?
I left him at home because seats were so limited.
Yeah.
I was like, do you want to come and watch or no? And he's like, well, and I'm like, okay, more people want to see this and I don't want to waste a seat on it.
Yeah.
So
I'll bring you one.
he's at home, probably watching some movies. Playing Legos or something.
Will he be in high school next year? Was he in high school this year?
No, he'll be freshman. First year, yeah.
Now, did
Ninth
they go
grade.
to a new school in ninth or 10th grade here?
He's in conference, so he's in the it's taking him. So he was.
But he hadn't been there before? Okay. So where's his school go to?
They go to 12, but it goes to 12.
No, they
Much
decided to
smaller.
sit behind, so those are, they're available.
It's, mine's not bad, but it's a little. And he actually has a school for sure, so he's not very good. But also,
So y'all both taught at private schools?
but that idea of having to change, because he's going up out of school, this kind of thing, I think it's good. I know. I had to cut. Like, it was so hard deciding what to pick and what to cut. They were like, make it 5 minutes long, and I'm like, oh, it's 9.5. Sorry, y'all. But it's just so hard. There were so many good pictures.
That wasn't the best quality anyway. I mean, it was handheld, but it was so funny.
Oh, it was so funny.
Absolutely. How are you?
I know we joked that we needed to do a whole like, poop montage just of all the poop.
Yeah.
Hey, Clay, what's up? The pooper bloopers? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been, something else. If we sit right in the middle.
Yeah? Y'all want to sit right? I got two more seats right here.
No, I'm gonna move down here.
And Clay, right behind you.
Hey Ross, what's up?
Sorry, I'm about as limber as a old man.
I know.
I heard voices I recognized, but I didn't realize it was y'all.
My neck doesn't turn that way either.
Hey, I was hiking last night past your house, and there was a coyote about 20 feet away.
Really? Wow.
9:30 at night, just staring at me. Not
That's kind of
fidgety.
Yeah.
Really thin, but he wasn't mangy. And I said, Mike, I mean, he was technically was out as I was walking up the hill.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
That's why I said to Brenna, like, I've been hiking because I'm going on a backpacking trip next week. So I've been hiking every day for a number of weeks now.
I'm going to go check
And
the
that's the
gallery.
first time I ever saw a coyote, and he was
Yeah.
plain as day. Just, hey, how you doing?
Rescued me that day.
Yeah, usually they're somewhere else in the summer.
I shined my headlight on him, it didn't
Yeah. I know.
didn't scare him, didn't.
Don't mess with me.
So they're still there.
Where are you going hiking?
In the Pecos National Forest, north of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, trying to get
So
anywhere.
I'm taking our freshman class, the St. Louis freshman class.
Oh yeah.
So it's about 40 boys with me and about 7 or 8 chaperones. So
Okay. Oh Ross.
It'll be exciting.
A lot of walking.
I am. That's why I've been
Oh, you didn't. All right, we are getting ready to start in probably another 3 minutes. We're gonna get a couple more people in here to sit, and then we'll start in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, you really want to go. Inaugurate the section.
It's gotten a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna give it about 3 minutes and then go ahead and start the proceedings. But if you would please, we've got a live stream going and the bars are a little light in the room. So if you could please either put your phones into airplane mode or turn them off, that will make her feed much stronger. So more to
So
turn
nobody's
off the ringer.
competing
Go ahead
for
and put it
internet
down.
with me. Verizon, I guess, is the one that really matters.
We're missing one speaker, but he's in the second half. You can talk twice. That'll work. You know, there's Eagle jewelry in the lobby. at
Is
the
it really?
Raptor Center.
I didn't know
And they have
Oh.
Eagle patches and lots of Eagle bling out there.
I have my
They
Eagle.
3
that. I already bought it.
bald eagles in their care right now. And one of them is an adult, and they're not sure if they're gonna be able to release it or not. And then they have 2 juveniles. And they said this is the most eagles that they have ever had in their care. So, we love our bald eagles, but you can find eagles at almost any reservoir in North Texas. So there's 2 breeding pairs at Louisville, and one of them you can see at Lake Louisville Environmental Learning Area. You can just go down to the end of the main road, where the Elm Fork is, and they'll always show up there. And then there is a bald eagle pair, like I said, just about at every reservoir. But the ones at Lake Louisville, they really show up in some interesting places. So we're doing well. Fortunately, eagles don't have much of a refined sense of taste, so they're happy to eat carp. And we're happy to have them eat our carp. Because carp are kind of invasive and big, and so,
Nobody wants to eat
yeah.
it.
Here in White Rock Lake, they eat carp, catfish, and coots. They love themselves little coots. It's a little shocking to see. I understand they ate a turtle.
Yep.
How did they do that?
Flipped him upside down.
Raised birds.
19 viewers. 19. Now it's starting.
Well, when I save this, I'll cut off the first 45 minutes or so. So all the extra at the beginning isn't there.
Excuse me.
Look at him grabbing that branch.
Watch him snap off prices over
I
our
know,
house.
it's just such a, it's so cool. Got it.
For fun.
That's Brett. He's going to talk to us in a little bit.
I said 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chainsaws and tragedy.
Nick helped me look for the baby when you were laid up in the house with your knee.
I said 24.
All right, Amy, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah.
It's okay to have two.
Hey, Lily, come sit with me. Come here, come sit by me. I baby with me.
Everybody's getting in place. All right. Well, hey there. Good to see you. Everybody's on
Hi.
airplane mode, that kind of thing. I'm Amy Martin, the author of Wild DFW, Explore the Amazing Nature around Dallas-Fort Worth. And it is a real trip to be here. I've done a number of events here at the Bathhouse Cultural Center, and it's really one of my favorite places in the world, and it's right, it's right in my neighborhood. There is a live stream going on, and we're going to be broadcasting this live, and it will be on White Rock Eagle TV on YouTube forever, and see y'all behave. Yeah, it's a real trip to be here. And while I'm thinking about it, let's give the Bathhouse Cultural Center a hand. It was kind of a lark of a call, we couldn't get into Winfrey Point, and we called them up and they said, do you have a date? They said, we have one, Saturday, August 1st. So we just took it, and we pulled together this festival in under a month, absolutely in under a month. So I'm your MC, and I am one of the e-gals, get it? Get it? All right. Ann Surrey mentioned this idea to me, I don't know, a year or so ago, and how do we get this started? Who do we talk to? What do we do it? And I took notes, and those notes sat on my desk for months and months and months. And then Mary Sue Foster kicked the idea into activity on social media this summer, and then things started swirling, and we got a whole gang of us together, and we pulled this thing together. We have also, in addition to me and Mary Sue and Ann Surrey, we have Desiree Scott, Megan Polikoff, and Brenna Thompson, who's doing the live feed. And, take great turns. Yeah, totally. Now, back to the places. We still got people kind of dribbling in. So, all right. Well, the event here is sponsored partly by the City of Dallas Office of Art and Culture. They changed their name at one point. How many of y'all tuned in every day to the Eagles on Facebook, or almost every day? Let's see some hands. I tell you, some people said, that's my stories. It's their drama. They're soap opera. And we had some soap opera this year. Not quite as dramatic as years prior, but pretty darn dramatic. But when you look at some of these photos, it is truly artistry. That they completely turned the art, the act of watching these eagles and capturing their lives into art. Just amazingly beautiful stuff. Many of the people who have been following this are housebound, or they live far away. And when I did a talk recently at CC Young, all they wanted to talk about was the Eagles. It is something that they're following, and they just don't get out much. You're just seeing the retirement home. So these photographers are truly bringing nature into people's lives in a way that I've never really seen done before in Dallas. And they're bringing them closer to nature at that. And more than that, they are the eyes on the eagles, which is why we named the show that. You know, because if the eagles are having some troubles, if people are misbehaving, if the nest is showing problems, they let the authorities know that something is up. And they do such an excellent job with that. And then they also do this amazing, and I've heard from several people today, they said, I was out at the lake looking for the eagles, and I see this photographer, and then in 15 minutes I knew everything. I knew where to look for them and where to go and what part of the life cycle that they were in right now. So they have been really tremendous educators for the eagles. So if you're one of the photographers featured here tonight, or if you're just part of the photographers crew that's out there, or you're featured in the retrospective Treetops to Talents to Treetops, stand up or away from your seats and just let us all know that you're the photographer. Yeah, good. They have brought so much joy to people's lives. Are fine, very, very fine. So, the true heroes of this event, though, are two Dallas Park and Recreation officials or employees or staffers. And ever since Nick and Nora took up residence at White Rock Lake, they were there. When the eagles were in trouble, they responded immediately, sometimes coming in, from way out of town on their off days. They were kind of, squeezed in between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife federal laws and state game wardens and state regulations, and they really succeeded admirably in being in this very tough position. They also had to deal with sometimes uncooperative public, sometimes even defiant public, and they responded with education, education, education. So, a big round of applause for the two amazing human beings, Brett Johnson and Chris Matthews. Chris is coming in from Greenville, so you will hear from him later on in this show. But he is not quite here in person yet. So, after the event, though, Chris and Brad will be entertaining questions outside in the Bluestone Amphitheater, just right outside and to your left from the building. And they will continue what they've been doing, which they've been calling conservation conversations. So, your PR person at the Dallas Park Department has really been acing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrea has been terrific, just terrific. So, so we will get on with our program. So, Martha Taylor. She is absolutely the queen of the camera. She has so much knowledge and so many skills. And she's also just a really darn fine birder. She has a lot of knowledge about birds and their habits, and she's been at this for a number of years. And she photographs a lot more than eagles due to her passion for birds. She's shy, so be nice to her, right? Applause for Martha Taylor.
We love you. Oh, hey, Amy? Amy. Oh, he's switching it. Okay, he's switching it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
I will be discussing with whoever wrote that introduction. I want to tell you a quick story that many years ago, my family and I went to the Garden of the Gods in Colorado. And when we got there, we got out and started looking around, and my niece, who was a toddler at the time, couldn't see very much, and we kind of helped her and lifted her onto a little rock formation so that she could see. And she looked ahead at the beautiful vistas ahead of her, and she turned around and looked at us and said, "What am I even doing here?" And I have not fully understood how she felt until
until this moment. The wonder of it all, it is indeed a wonder that we have these eagles and that they have been here for the years that they have, and that they have given us such a successful season this year. The early start is that they nest built. This was in mid-December, I believe, and they're not necessarily unique or exciting pictures, but it's just enough. Oh, we have about 634 like that. But they just are hard at work for many hours during the day and for many days during the week. And they will kick off a couple of days and relax, but for the most part, they work hard getting that nest built. And this is one with a stick. And then the next picture is they do go and collect some grasses to fill in some of the areas in the nest. And I get a lot about, I'm sure Nora is on Nick a lot about, well, I want you to move this over here, this move over there. So this goes on during the whole process that they're in the tree. A friend of mine wanted me to separate these pictures out, and I understand why, but I didn't want to have a whole lot of conversation about the activity here. So suffice it to say, this is the beginning of our 3 eagles. One of the first threats, Nora was actually sitting on eggs, and one of the first threats that occurred was a juvenile eagle that kept getting too close to the nest and making Nick and Nora both uncomfortable. And Nick spent the better part of the day trying to chase the juvenile off. There was a lot of speculation that this is one of Nick and Nora's previous offspring, but he is obviously too old to have been one of theirs. If you can look at the head, they typically don't develop a white head until they're between 4 and 5 years of age. So it's highly unlikely that that was one of their offspring. A beautiful picture nonetheless. And this next picture is Nick. Oh, wow. Trying to escort him away from the property. He didn't have much luck, and Nora, who was, as I said, sitting on eggs, got a little frustrated, and she tore out of the nest and helped Nick escort the youngster away. And this, I thought, was kind of a victory lap because it took around the park before she went back to sit on the nest. Feeding these youngsters is a big job, and Nora sat in the tree with that fish under her helmet for a good bit of time before it was time for her to move it over to the tree where the babies could take. And I'm just in awe of their talents and the strength that they have here. If we can go back. This one, Nick had gone off to the water. And I was walking down Fort Dreyfus thinking I had plenty of time and I might actually catch him in the act of fishing. But he flew back right over my head, so I didn't have any choice but to raise my camera and take that picture. I really like that. It really demonstrates the strength and everything that is needed to bring that fish back to the crew. This one I included not because it's a wonderful photograph, but I had trouble understanding the size of the nest. And you can see the 3 youngsters here. And one of the reasons that the 3rd youngster doesn't survive a lot of the times is they get pushed out of the nest. And you can see the eagle spreading his wings there. And if all 3 of them do that, then there's really not a whole lot of room for that activity. So one of them might indeed hit the ground. And this was taken last Saturday. We watched this is the last juvenile that we had here. And we watched him that morning doing what I call touch and goes. He would he'd sit in the tree with the parents for a while, and then he would leave the tree, fly around Sunset Bay, and he would touch the different perches, like he was gonna perch, but he didn't. He just would touch them, and then he'd go back to the tree and sit. And a little while later, he did that again. And I think this was the very last picture that I took of him, but I had a feeling that day that this might not happen again, that this might indeed be the last time I saw this guy.
Talking to the microphone.
And it's a bittersweet moment at one time. It's very sad because it was the last time that I saw him. But at the same time, it solidified, you know, we've seen these eagles come through such challenges. They've built nests that weren't the best, and they've lost them, and they've had babies and they've lost them. And they finally, this year, got the nest building thing down. And they've done well, and I hope they come back and do it again next year. I understand from Google that only about 4 to 14% of the eagle population has a third eagle that survives. So for them to have had the struggles that they've had up to this point, and this year come and produce 3 that successfully left the nest and will bring joy and wonder to a whole lot of people out there. And that's about all I have. I thank you for your time.
Does anyone have any questions for Martha? We've got time for a little bit of Q&A. About life cycles and stuff like that? Yes, sir.
Will they reuse the same nest over and over?
Will they reuse the same nest?
This gentleman over here is more apt to be able to answer these kinds of questions. But
Morris will handle that here.
Oh, he's here.
But yes, they tend to. The last nest that they had across the street at the soccer field, they used it, 2 or 3 times?
They actually used a total of about 3 years, and they were actually starting to establish over there this year and last year.
So yes, they will come back to that nest and all.
And they're getting better about it, I understand. I knew that you've done a lot of telling people to be patient, that they're young parents, that they're new at this. Give them some time. They don't need a platform, they just need time to mature. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. An eGals, curious.
What was your biggest challenge trying to photograph
I'm sorry, trying to.
them? Trying to photograph them in live action.
A lot of times it was the weather. The field out there, the best place to position for being able to view into the nest and see those in the activity coming and going. That I lost my train of thought. A lot of times we had believe it or not, remember when we had a lot of rain, and that field was pretty swampy. So there was that, and then the heat. And I tried to get these gentlemen to talk to the eagles and ask them to please go back on a normal eagle schedule so that we are not here at 100-degree temperatures doing this.
Unfortunately, I might be losing some shade, but I'll talk about that in a minute.
Any other questions before we let Martha sit down? All right, we're going to carry on. Stewart?
I don't know.
You're a doofus, that's what you're doing. Thank you. A hand for Stewart, he is making noise.
Yay, Stuart.
Hold it, okay. He gave me instructions, of course. So, all right, now we have a real situation here. Brett Johnson has quite the title. Dallas Park and Recreation Conservation Manager and Superintendent of Environmental Quality. Go ahead. The feds can be pretty persnickety about those eagles, our national symbol, and Brett is the point man for all of that. But he does a lot more than eagles. Wildlife in the wilder areas of parklands are in his purview. Remember the goats? That was Brett.
Yay.
His humor is sly, his knowledge is vast. We are lucky to have Brett, and he's going to share his knowledge of the eagles and enlighten us. A hand for Brett Johnson, please.
Talk right into it, Brett, so they can hear you.
We good?
Yes, good.
Y'all know I can also get really loud. Either way. So as you said, my name is Brett Johnson. I'm the Conservation Manager / Superintendent of Environmental Quality for the Dallas Parks Department. I do oversee the conservation team with the Parks Department, which includes myself, Chris Morris, and our city forester. I also oversee all of our forestry operations. And so y'all understand that. I oversee currently 12 guys to address all the tree functions on 412 properties.
Don't worry about it.
Quick question for y'all. How many trees do you think are in the maintained areas around White Rock Lake?
More than 12.
Maintained.
1,300.
1,000.
1,300.
1,664. Wow. And keep in mind, about 10% of those are ash trees. So, y'all are aware, like I said, I oversee all the forestry operations. That also means I also oversee the city's response to animal natural, which all comes into play with the eagles here in just a second. But I have a quick question for you, and I can just barely see the people in the back. Just how many of y'all have myself or Chris Morris interacted with out at Stone Tables, been to the conservation talk, seen? All right, good. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Now, Amy asked me to kind of go over some of the protection issues, and you want me to track my time, right? Thank you. Okay, so we do have a lot of challenges that come up with working on protecting these eagles. First off, how many of y'all can tell me what is the distance that you're not supposed to have absolutely any disturbance within?
330 feet.
Close, what is it?
600.
No,
660.
that's the no heavy disturbance.
330 feet.
330 feet, which was Morris's eagle habitat sign. In that particular location, what are the chances of that happening? By the way, 330 feet goes practically up to the private homes. Now, let's take that out to the 660-foot distance. Okay, that's basically from Lake Highlands, the intersection of Lake Highlands and Tiffany, almost all the way over to Poppy on the other side of the creek, and almost all the way down to the Dreyfus School. No, we're not supposed to have anything like construction going on. Now I want to go back a few years and why this becomes a challenge. Y'all remember when they were doing the White Rock Creek loop trail?
Mm-hmm.
And they were on the other side of Lake Highlands? 660 feet came to this side. How much do you think that cost the Parks Department when we had to stop construction on that stretch from Tiffany to Dixon Branch? We had to stop the contractors for almost 3 months.
But they were
Yeah, that cost us quite a bit. What do you think that cost us when we had to shut down Lake Highlands to all soccer activity when it's one of the bigger soccer complexes in Dallas? What do you think that did to us on the financial side of things? I don't want to be all doom and gloom on this, but I need y'all to understand that as a park manager, and Chris and I have to look, because Chris is a fairly high-ranking official within the Parks Department himself. We have to look at things on multiple scales, or multiple angles. First off, real quick, how many of y'all are certified wildlife biologists? Anybody in the room?
Here's Richard.
How many certified wildlife biologists do we have in the room? That's me. How many certified arborists or licensed arborists do we have in the room? You look around, that's 2 of us. Who also has to be a manager within the Parks Department? That's me. So I have to look at these, dealing with the eagles from all 3 angles. I am a wildlife biologist by profession. I've been doing this for 25 years. For those of you that are aware, I was with Texas Parks and Wildlife for about 12 years before coming to the city. And I know everybody in here knows it, but anybody's been on the fan page also knows. Right before I left Texas Parks and Wildlife, when y'all remind me, go look at John Bunker Sands. Guess who was on that planning committee that came up with that idea? I've dealt with Fish and Wildlife Service for about 20 years. I know this stuff very well. A lot of times when we get the recommendation to go to the game warden or go to the Fish and Wildlife Service and get their ideas, it's awesome. But Chris and I are the ones that do the training. Okay? So, the challenge with this whole 660 feet, I need everybody to understand. That's a federal guideline. That's not a federal statute. Okay? It's a guideline. So if something happens, then they can act on it. It's not a federal statute. Now, on the game warden front, the game warden, how many of y'all saw a game warden come out this year? Good number of you, yeah. We had the state game warden coming out, and we had the federal wildlife agent coming in. Both came in, the state game warden usually came in 2 to 3 times a week. Federal game warden tried to come in at least once a week. Keep in mind, anybody happen to catch where the federal game warden is assigned to?
Sherman.
Where is it?
Sherman, right?
Sherman. It's on the Hagerman Wildlife Refuge. So anytime we'd have the feds come in, he was coming in from the Oklahoma border. And oh, by the way, his law enforcement was everything from Dallas and points east, and also part of southern Oklahoma. Now, we did bring in the game warden on a number of occasions this year, but typically what happens, hey Logan, what happens when the game warden gets called? Who ends up getting called after that? The game warden calls me. Okay? Which is fine. But then I'm gonna pitch it, hey Logan, from October to say early June, how often did me or Chris get called in?
Too many times to count.
Too many times to count. From October to June, either myself or Chris Morris were over here for one reason or another every week. Okay, one or the 2 of us was here every week. So, the game warden, great. But one thing I need everybody to understand. As soon as we hit May and we hit their water safety time, that's their priority. Okay? Every time the game warden got called this year, from about May on, they're on the lake. They're doing safety enforcement. Every time they get called, they have to come off that, come over here. That's why I would take it on and go deal with it. But Do I have any law enforcement ability? I don't. Now, let's advance to, around Mother's Day. It was awesome. Okay? That's when we had to start making the decision that we were going to, do the limited blockade of the road. Okay, yes, I did have concern as we got closer to the eagles coming out of the nest, that, the speed of the bikes was definitely a concern. The cars were definitely a concern. I'm just gonna be blunt, the public interaction at that point in time got very challenging for me and Chris to have to work through. But again, that's where, as a park manager, I'm having to wear multiple hats. Because this is not a wildlife refuge. It is good wildlife habitat. It is not a wildlife refuge. So when we got closer to that first eaglet coming down out of the nest, I got a quick question for you. That Friday night, when that eaglet came out of the nest, how many calls and direct Facebook messages did you get? Trust me, I knew it happened. And so did my wife, because we were at the movie and it could have started at any time. 45 minutes later, I was sick. Okay, so we do take this seriously. I was here until 11 o'clock that night, which is fine. Because we had people that were showing up with spotlights because they wanted to protect the eaglet from coyotes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you were planning on doing, but there ain't much you can do legally. Still got it. Then came the next morning, and this is where I need everybody to just kind of sit back and think for a second. This was not an easy call. Because keep in mind, I'm the one that has to make these decisions. Knowing it is going to be a big impact to the park system. Dreyfus is a big area that gets used a lot. And I had to make the call to shut it down. But I need you to remember, why did I make the call that Saturday morning to shut it down?
Protect the eagles.
What was that?
To protect the eagles.
To protect the eagles, because when I showed up, I had 35 people standing with cameras within 10 feet of the eagles.
Yep.
Okay? That's why I made the call to shut it down. That was not an easy call because I knew that was gonna cost us a lot. So, now to get out of the doom and gloom part of it. All right. I got about 3 minutes? Okay. So, this was awesome this year. We had 3 eaglets make it to dispersal. I know I'm not always the bright chipper guy. Morris tends to handle that side of things worse, which is awesome. But some things we need to keep in mind. Like I said, Morris and I we're both arborists. We do watch this very carefully. This is a better tree. Now, I don't know who went to Tree ID and started trying to say that was an American elm, but it's not an American elm. That's cotton. And it is one of the 3 tallest trees around White Rock Lake. Which, by the way, we know from the tree inventory. Just real quick, like I said, that's how we know there's over 1,600 trees in the maintained area around White Rock Lake. We are probably September, October, we are going to have it. We're going to try to get do what we call a density test on it to look at it. Chris and I do have some concerns about that tree. It's definitely a better tree. But it's probably technically 2 trees. And we're a little bit concerned about the included bark down there at the base between the 2 trees. Being a cottonwood, you never know what it's covered. And take a slightly different angle there too. a while back when I asked, you know, when I put the cord around the second big cottonwood over there, just a reminder, that wasn't for the eagle. That was to keep y'all from sitting on it. If y'all didn't notice, there's a big hanger in that tree that I couldn't get out of there. I didn't want that coming down on me. Same token as that, how many of y'all took to sitting under the trees over there and over next to Travis? Okay, it took me a couple of weeks, but I got a big hanger taken off over there. If you went over there this week, y'all probably did notice that starting yesterday, I did have the forestry crew start taking down one of the other trees that was over there immediately adjacent. If you went over and looked at it, there is a big split that's on there. That is one of the ash trees that we actually had on the list for preemptive removal. The Parks Department has started our preemptive removal of ash trees. My forestry crew, depending on what's going on that week, can average about 5 to 9 ash trees a week. I've got about 1,400 of them in the maintained part of the park system, but we're gonna have to. So, with that, what am I? About done? All right. Any more questions? All right. Has anybody got a question?
So many questions.
By the way, like I said, Chris and I will be outside for about 30 minutes afterwards. And we go, we get more. But somebody, I saw another hand over here. Yes, ma'am.
Any chance of an eagle cam?
Thank you for asking. Okay, I'm gonna be blunt. This is where I've got to balance things on my 3 hats that I'm wearing. Wildlife biologist side of me, no. There's no scientifically good, valid reason to particularly do it. Okay? There are other urban eagles. The science of it is pretty well covered. Arborist side of me, I can't, in good conscience, ask somebody to climb that tree. It's either gonna have to go in a bucket truck, or it's gonna have to go in a ladder truck. And the only place you're gonna have enough of an angle to see is off that wetland, where that big limb broke off, on the wetland side of it. And that means I'm gonna have to put a heavy-duty truck over on the wetland side of that tree. What does that do to those roots on a cottonwood?
Damages.
I put a heavy truck on that wetland side of the cottonwood. That cottonwood's dead in about 3 years. Okay. Park management side of me. How many of y'all have seen Dallas is kind of in a little bit of a budget crunch?
A little bit.
Well, I've been asked to see if we can figure out how to do it, to see if we can figure out a way to get funds off of it. Wildlife biologist side of me does not endorse it. Arborist side does not endorse it because there's a very strong possibility we're going to lose that tree. But a lot of people are asking, so we are going to be looking at some options. Okay? It may not be in the tree, but we're going to see, we're looking at some options. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I attach it to the tree, we're probably going to lose it.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Big hand.
All right. Last but not least, I forgot to mention it. If y'all seen the story of the rescue a couple of years ago and having to build the deer stand and carry the deer stand out, what do you think of it? Stand up for just a second. That's my bigger dude.
Gosh, there's so many things to consider about all of this. I would have never guessed about the roots of the cottonwood and all of that. That is just so fascinating. I think I got a little out of order. So, photographer, no, you are up, right? Okay. Chris Giblin, when the nest on the other side, Buckner, fell down in a huge storm and the chicks disappeared, my goodness, he was right on top of it. And he's followed the saga closely. You can ask him so many questions. there will be, the photographers will be hanging out in the lobby afterwards, and so you can pepper them with questions. And then it's also, well, they're not out there watching the Eagles quite as much as they used to be, but like I mentioned before, they do such great outreach, and they are just repositories of information and history about these birds. Chris is also the moderator of the White Rock Eagles fan page, and I invite you to settle in and hear the inspiring story about how the Eagle community helped Chris through one of the hardest times of his life. Chris Gitlin.
Hi there, everybody. Thank
Hi,
you all for
Chris.
being here tonight. I first saw Nick and Nora, well, I first heard of them through different Facebook groups, different photography groups, the Dallas Photography Group over on Facebook. And hey, they're all Eagles at White Rock. Oh, okay, well, that's different. That's cool. And then it kept going for a couple of weeks. I just figured, okay, somebody got a good opportunity to see a bald eagle come through. But they were hanging around. So finally, in November of 2021, I decided to come on down, and that's when I met some of my fellow photographers, and we're just sitting there talking, and then Nick comes flying in from, the north end there, kind of dog park area. He comes flying in, and here he is landing right into their infamous Cottonwood perch, just right off of Sunset Bay, just right up the way right there, and where they stand, just feet off of Lothar, watching the joggers and cyclists, and us stare at them as well. But just looking splendid and regal here. This is my very first real good shot of them, and from there I was pretty well hooked. About this time in my own life, I'm going through challenges. My wife was in the fight of her life at the time for breast cancer, which had returned. And I started to see the Eagles as kind of like my therapy. I would go out, and this is why I'm out there every Saturday, Sunday from 7 a.m. to 11 or whenever the heat will drive me away. But watching them and watching them through the years and their story of their loss and their redemption and their courage to rebuild, stay here in the area, and their determination and perseverance, it brings with me deeply. It's an emotional thing for me as I go through the recovery of grief in my own life as my wife left us last January. But here you'll see some of my favorite images. I tend to capture more of the emotional, expressive end of them, so hopefully you'll see some of those there. As we go next. So this was that second nest build. When the first nest collapsed in February of 22 due to high winds, they attempted something over there the rest of that spring in the soccer field. That's when they first took over that hawk's nest in the back. But they didn't hang there. They didn't really do anything with it the following fall. Instead, they chose this very dead tree right in the middle of just off the Sunset Bay area, right in that open meadow. We could stand there and watch from a safe distance. But
Logistically, that was my favorite.
yeah, no, it had its own protection area. Now there were some knuckleheads that would go back through there, but that's another story. But they stuck around there for about 3 months, and by the end of December, about the time the marathon came through in December, they were gone. They left the area. They came back towards the end. I got some good photos of them with crows New Year's Eve, but other than that, they were gone for the rest of that mating season, and they took off elsewhere, presumably down the Trinity River for a bit. So we had our eyes. We were a bit wondering where they were going and when they would be back. But they would make rare appearances that season, that spring season. And here, Nora is obviously telling Nick to go to Home Depot and get some more. Next. Now, great thing to watch. This was at the Hawk's Nest in the just after she had after Henley and his sibling had hatched, and she's protecting them against a hawk. And this was a recurring battle they would have with those hawks. If they kicked out of that nest, they chose a nest kind of in the weeds or in the trees towards the other end of the field by the playground, and they would come around and they would want their territory back, and they would come and make incursions and runs. And here, Nora, in all her glory, is defending right there and saying, you will not. She couldn't leave the nest because Nick wasn't around, but she thoroughly defended that nest. Yes. And here's just a good portrait of them in kind of a winter setting. Clouds make for a good background, I think, for eagles versus just blue, nothing skies. And here they are, just, yeah, in all their splendidness, just admiring the scene out there. So I love this one. This is Nora at the Stone Tables. This is October of 2022. I know Stephen was out there with me as well. We see this moon rising out behind her, and you know, we basically zoomed in with our feet and got the moon lined up perfectly, and it came right between the wedge there. And here you can see Nora, and I guess maybe Chris will speak to how old they are and whatnot, but she has this very dark streak. Now this is the characteristic that kind of is fading, but it still kind of comes and goes on her, so when they're separated, that's how you know which one is which. Nora and her dark streak, aside from just obviously looking at her a little thicker beat, but her dark streak, the dot streak is what we call it.
I see the dark
I
streak.
think love this movie.
Oh,
And of course, like everybody else, I've got to make a shot. This was actually taken about 1 week before she went to nest over Valentine's Day of 2024, the first successful clutch she had. This was actually taken about the 9th or so, the 8th or the 9th of February. Just sitting there, they were right over Buckner, putting on a show during rush hour. Privacy. But yeah, just, that's how it happens, folks, and it's quick and it's done.
yeah.
Next. So we talked about that nest, or the faux nest that was built. This is Henley here at the Blackman Prairie Raptor Center, who are out there. They brought him back out. It had to happen quick. This was all done within a week. The nest collapsed. The rescue happened shortly after. He was sent first to Rogers Wildlife, I think, picked him up, and then
No, we drove him there.
Oh, they drove him there, okay, and then
75 on 75.
awesome, and then they brought him to Blackman Prairie, who had better capabilities to look after him and evaluate him. And luckily, he was in very good condition, just needed hydration, food, whatnot, and they brought him out. But they were worried about the reunification, and so they got the idea to they got the net, the deer stand. Chris and Brett did, and the night before, the previous night, him and his son worked on this nest building, and from the story that he tells, there were about a couple hundred Allen bolts that you had to thread through to build this thing. And then they brought it out through the mud from that Jericho storm that came through, and set it out there, dressed it up. And then that Sunday, I was just out there taking photographs of Nick and Nora, and everybody from Blackman Prairie shows up. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're bringing him back. And sure enough, yeah, they set him in there. He stayed in there for about a day and a half. He got out of there probably that night, just flying around. And then I think a day and a half later is when Brenna saw him reunified with Nora up there, and success, thankfully. Again, more of their expressiveness. You might have seen this on the billboards around White Rock Lake, as either the spillway end or the end up here. But I just love their expression. You can never tell if they're just talking or they're fighting. Which to us, it probably looks like, you know, she's yelling at him, and Nick is just absolutely terrified. Flat-out expressions in these shots that we get, that Nick is just like, yes, dear, okay. And she's saying, hey, look, it's been hours, and you haven't brought back a fish, and let's, you know, get to it. And sure enough, shortly after, he left and brought back a fish. Next. And here's a fish for you. This was during Luca and Dixon, last year's juveniles, and we were out there on a late June Saturday out there at Sunset Bay, and she brings in this fish, and it is just a monster. And both juveniles are out there, and Nick is also fluttering around. And it's just a beauty to capture them. It's challenging. You have two eagles on a lake that spans a 9-mile diameter, I think it's longest end. So it's very hard for all of us to get these fishing shots, especially when they tend to fish way out there. So when they bring them in, it's just absolutely beautiful. And here's the results. It's a family feast. Both the juveniles are bringing in their fish. She brought back one or two, and they were pulling out fish, the remains of the other fish that were nibbled at, and they just kind of sit there. So they pull out these dead fish and just feasted on it for a couple of hours, actually. And it was just beautiful. When you see them, they get defensive. These juveniles get defensive once they get the fish from mom and dad. When they yank it out from them, when they will tear off their talons between teeth. They get defensive and they just hold way over their fish, and you will not come near catch. And here, talon fighting. Here they are practicing their talon fighting. This is taken right over Dreyfus. I mean, it just happened in an instant. I'm driving around just looking to see where they're at. And I got to the top of Dreyfus, the hill on Dreyfus, and I didn't even make it into the parking lot. And I see them coming in, talon fighting, and I pull off to the side and grabbed out my lens, and they came right over me. And I have what is it, 150 to 600 millimeter lens. I'm back all the way down. This is a full clip, full shot, no crop to it or whatever. They filled the entire fighting. It was beautiful to see them practicing their skills, because they will need this as they go on, whether both fighting and recording as well. And here we have another shot, Nick coming back with the fish right across Dreyfus. We're all out there at Dreyfus looking, and he comes right across. And just beautiful. I love the fish shots. Welcome to the neighborhood. This Jay right here is greeting Nick as he's bringing back sticks for the new nest. You know, there were changes for a lot of different birds out there in that area, and there's a new predator that to call home. And the jays didn't really like it, and some of the hawks in the area, and the crows, of course, gave chase. And then we had the eagles as well. But yeah, when I saw them, you know, after the nest collapsed, Brendan sent that video, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? You know, this is now, what, nest number 2 or 3, you know, this nest has been destroyed now twice, part this one time permanently. What's going to happen? And for me, it starts to get a little emotional, like, oh boy, you know, what are we going to do? I love these eagles so much. And one Sunday I'm out here just driving around, and I saw it, and I saw him bringing a stick, and I'm like, wait, where's he going with that stick? And then I saw the cottonwood. We kept it quiet for a couple of weeks, and then of course word got out quickly. I mean, you see 2 bald eagles up there next to that restroom right there, working in the tree. It's gonna get at right. It's the secret location, as one of our other photographers like to call it. But yeah, it was beautiful, and it was very, very emotional for me to see them come back and build that nest. And then here we have all 3 of them right here, the 3 amigos. Just one of them tearing into a fish, and just, what a beautiful sight. That smaller, I'm not sure if any of our photographers actually got all 5 of them on the nest at one time. That would be kind of hard. But definitely we've got shots coming in the slideshow, you know, an adult and all 3. But what a small, it seems small to us, if the eye may play some distortion in it, but it definitely looks smaller than the other. For 3 bald eagles to survive, 3 young juveniles to fledge and get out of the area is just remarkable. And here, this was taken the Saturday that chaos was breaking out. I came down there that evening. I was at work, and as the administrator and founder of that group, my Facebook was blowing up. Probably not the amount of what his was, but my messenger and texts were blowing up as well as to what was going on. There's nothing I could do to get down there, and nobody's really going to listen much to me anyway, whatever. But I was at work. I came down there that evening, and he was practicing his flying, and so many comical times he would fly, he would smack right into the side of that building, and it was kind of comical and kind of like, uh-oh, but he'd get right back up and fly back over to a stump, and then get his launch again, and finally he made it up there, and that gave everybody a big sigh of relief that he was going to be able to avoid predators. I think that really calmed everybody down. He was going to be just fine. And they used that area, and he would also fly to his emotional support log over on the side. There's 2 logs that are falling in the back there. But it was a thrill for everybody in the room. And this one I love. It's just, you know, I love the portraits. Just a proud mama right there. This is actually her perch in front of the old nest in the back of the soccer rugby field. and she's just a beauty to look at. And I got one more here. And this is Henley reflecting, I think, by this time he had crossed over Buckner from the field and was making his way down to the lake. But I really love this moment of him just kind of quietly looking down and probably reflecting on his journey and what the last few weeks have been. Again, I'm out here all the time, every weekend, so if you see me, say hi, ask questions. I'll be out here, I'll ask some questions. But I love these eagles, and you know, if you see me, as photographers, we do everything we can to protect them. We take some eye from some people who think that we're out there too much, whatever, but we're out there and we police ourselves and we encourage others to do the right thing. Anyway, thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris? We got just a little bit of time, and then I've got a special treat for y'all. Any questions? All right, Lily.
What was your favorite moment throughout the years of photographing these birds? What was the moment that meant the most to you?
So Lily's asking what was Chris's favorite moment of the year photographing them?
Over the years of photographing them.
Wow.
Microphone.
That's a tough one. I'd probably say just the seeing Henley reunited. I wasn't out there for the original unification. It was a rainy evening, but seeing him and Mom reunited and that take place was great. And then seeing him take place, me and Nick, I think, were out there and we saw him take his flights through the park for the first time as well. And that was pretty good to see that reunification at that time. Things in my own life were going a little downhill with my wife. Her cancer had taken a turn. And, just to have that little hope right there in that time really meant a lot personally.
Thank you.
Okay, now you are in for a treat. One that I bet will become a highly anticipated tradition. A photo retrospective called Talons and Treetops, a look back at our eagles. By Brenna Thompson, who runs the White Rock Eagle TV channel at YouTube, pulled this together in a little more than a week. Maybe it was even under a week.
Under.
A hand from her feet. All right, settle in and enjoy.
You can't hear me. This is where the nest falls. If you look on the right-hand side of the nest, it falls right here. And that was a close-up shot of it. That's all that was left.
Oh, Jason's.
That's a coot. That's a coot. That's the first shot of all 3 babies this year. Uh-oh, what happened to our music?
Did the whole thing freeze?
I don't know, did it freeze? Oops. What happened? Oh, there it goes. There. Hmm. What is going on with our music? That's after one of those rainfalls we had. Look at all the people.
That is a dramatic story. We're so lucky to be able to see this and also to have this wonderful retrospective that Brent put together. So, you know, do we have to do this every year? What do you think?
Yes.
Give us your feedback, you know, contact us through Facebook or however. I'm pretty easy to find at Wild DFW. And, you know, we're gonna need some more volunteers. We're gonna need a bigger space. And that's gonna cost us some money. So we're looking for more sponsors. If you know anyone who'd like to be sponsors, we sure tried to get the Fraternal Order of Eagles. So we gotta keep working on them. And anybody know anyone with the Eagle dealerships? That would be very nice if we could get some sponsorship from them. But helping us out this year is Wildbirds Unlimited East Dallas. They're located on Abrams, just south of Northwest Highway, so we're grateful. Our first sponsor. I'm just thrilled. You've been very kind, very nice job. Well, you know, after a lifetime in business, Alan Daniel found his calling in outdoor photography. He's an artist, truly skillful and admired by other photographers. Because he doesn't post to Facebook fan page as much, he's not as well known as some of the other photographers. So you are in for a surprise. Welcome, Alan.
To the right.
I probably don't need this, do I?
No, I want, you gotta talk in the microphone so I pick you up on the stream, please. I know you're loud, but
Thanks. I want to thank Amy for asking me to come here and show a few pictures. She sent me an email and said, can you show some of the last year? So I'll start off with saying I kind of found out about White Rock Lake about 15 years ago. I'd come down and walk around the lake, and I started shooting birds and eagles, and the first eagle I shot was in 2018. So I've seen them every year since 2018. I'm lucky to have done that. And so I look back to see how many pictures I had, and you can look in software and tell you how many. I had 2,800.
wow.
She said I could only show half of them. So we're kind of pick up. Right now, the 3 eaglets have left, and juveniles are off on their own. Won't be long until it's fall. We're all waiting for this color. When I posted this picture, I said, you know, what could be better than an eagle sitting in the middle of fall color, and what's better than an eagle with fish flying through the fall color. All these 2 were taken at Sunset Bay, but come November, and you've seen plenty of stick pictures, right? So for people that are photographers, you know, you always joke with people that says, you don't want to see a bird on a stick. Well, I've got birds carrying sticks. I've got birds on the stick. But you can kind of get an idea of how graceful they are and fly. And this is going to give you an idea. I put 2 of these together because both adults are there at the tree at sunset, and, you know, here we've taken off this huge stick, you know, and she's kind of looking at him like, are you kidding? That's all you're gonna take out of here? Just broken that little branch off, and obviously made up for it later. So, it's hard to get a perspective of how big these guys are. So the easiest way I can describe it to you is if you were to take your hand like that, unless you're a really big guy, that's about how big their talons are, okay? So from a stick that much to the thong, I'm gonna guess that stick's probably, you're the arborist, correct? I've gotta say at least, stick's at least 10 feet long.
Could be.
Yeah,
I tell you, their talons are big enough to go right around my arm.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Child.
Oh, yeah, they're, so you see them with the fish, and it's nothing for them to go do that. He landed in a tree with that, he couldn't hold on to it long enough, never made it to the nest, dropped it, then got angry and thrown it out. But you say, where do they get them? Sometimes they'll get them off the ground, but more often than not, they're breaking them out of a tree. And it's so fun to see them do it, because what they'll do is they'll actually, it looks like they're catching a fish. I mean, they'll fly around, they'll put both talons out like this, and just hit that branch and it explodes. I mean, and so you can see all the bits and pieces of them doing that. Of course, this is the beginning of the nest there at the playground and dressing room. Stone tables. You can see not much of a nest at this point. But again, they're having a conversation. This one looks pretty calm about the placement of the sticks. But about that time, they make multiple trips. The nest is a little bit bigger. They have more conversations, and the one on the right, I know we've seen a lot of pictures like that one before, but those conversations happen a lot. That happened to be at the tree at sunset. But it's not limited to sticks. They obviously have to put some padding in that nest, so they're out picking up grass and dead grass, and pulling stuff out of the ground. So it's very interesting to watch the nest building procedure. So all of that's going to start picking up probably around the November. These were taken in November, December of last year. So when you're thinking about what you're going to do here when the weather gets cool, you might go out there and you might see them working on that nest. Now they built it, but my guess is they're going to add some more to it, renovate it. They might even clean it out. You never know. So how many have seen a bear jam at Yellowstone?
Yep.
We have an eagle jam. So anybody that knows where this is at Stone Tables. And the big tree to the right, somewhere way up here. If I had a better camera, I could get up. There's bald eagle right up there at the top, sitting in the nest. But one of the great things that I've enjoyed over the years, and every year gets a little better, is all of the people I meet. Different photographers. You know, I've met Brett and his guys before, but all of us are out there a lot, and you become close friends. As you can see, we're all standing pretty well close to each other. It's fun to swap stories and make up what's going on, or somebody's guessing, or well, I think you're doing this. No, I heard this. So there's a lot of stories. But the great part about this, and I'm going to take credit for some of the pictures that you've seen earlier, even though I didn't submit them, because one of the things this group does, at least with me, is they're ready for me to go at any point in time. Because it's a given that when I leave, something exciting is going to happen. I've even, and I know these guys, which is that the other day I left, and I got all the way back to the car, and I hear a big shout out of the back, "Thank you, Alan!" They did one of the juveniles just made a pass over where they were, probably 30 feet in front of them. They couldn't get away. So this picture I like to say is when the first egg hatched. I think that was the announcement. The date was about right, and you know, until Brett puts in eagle camp, used to see them wrong. So, one baby eagle, I didn't get the 3 when they were little. I just never could make it out there at the right time, the right day, but one little one and be intended to there by the adult. The 3, and you see pictures of them, you know, these birds are big. And they take up a lot of room in that nest. I was lucky enough to get all of them skinned at the same place at the same time. Most of the time, I picked them like this. This one, we're standing kind of where you had the picture before, but they're all looking for mom or dad to come back from the lake. So they're all looking down toward Dreyfus, down toward the lake, waiting for something to show up. And they show up for fish. This time the eagle, this happens to be it, had a little bark swallow accompanying along the wide collar again. But they're capable of catching some really big fish, and sometimes they'll catch little big ones about this big. I put both talons around them, you can't even see the fish. It's like, my goodness, that's not even a good snack.
That's a catfish.
One of my favorite pictures was this one with the fish because usually they're up in the air, you see them flying over, sometimes you're lucky enough to see them below. This one did 2 passes and flew straight at me and 2 other photographers here a month or so ago. And it's real emotional is the wrong word, but it's real special when you see and you look in their eyes and you know they're looking straight at you. I mean, they may not be afraid of you or anything, but you just know they're looking at you. With all the fish feeding and catching and everything, obviously mom and dad need rest. And so a lot of times you can catch them out on some stumps out at Sunset Bay. And there are more than enough stumps out there for them to set up. We use more eagles or less stumps. 1 or 2. But luckily they don't sit on too many orange traffic cones, which is once the eagles left the nest, then it was flight time. So it's always fun to watch these guys fly. This one's right above. I like to say these next 3 pictures are one of each one of the juveniles. I don't think anybody in here is going to prove me wrong. There's the second one again. You know, these guys are right at eye level or just above. And with the big lens, it's like that one's full frame, that one's not cropped. He ain't got any closer, I could have shot. Cool. Landing becomes a bigger issue. They learn to fly a little faster than they learn to land appropriately. Now, this one I thought was a real dramatic image. The next 2 or 3 shots after that I'm not going to show you, shows him landing on the rescue. So I just thought it was more appropriate to have him coming in for a landing without the rescue visibility. 3 of them playing around at the lake, waiting for mom or dad to bring them fish. It was fun to see them out there, to scavenge and everything. I didn't get, last year I got a group shot of all 4 on a log, all looking the right way. Never could get 5 of them this year, so that just means I get to come back and do it again next year. Talking about the landing part, the picture on the left, the juvenile missed that. He went just a little too far, but he nailed it on the one on the right. Came in and hit that stump and managed it. So they learn pretty quick. Once they're gone, the parents get a chance just to hang around and chill out at the lake, or fly around and look for things to hunt or eat at the lake. Even the ducks seem like, and if you watch these birds fly, typically everything on the lake scatters when they leave a branch. They all leave because they all know they're probably on the venue somewhere. So they do actually fly. These ducks just weren't concerned at all when they flew by. So it was kind of unusual to see that. year coming up. And after January or February, start going out to get some a little cooler weather. If you've not been out to White Rock Lake, I encourage all of you to go over to Sunset Bay. There's a little pier there. And if there's not 400 photographers on it, you're trying to break it down. You should stop by and you'll probably see an eagle. You can probably go out there tomorrow and see. So take advantage of the fact that they're here. And I think Chris mentioned it earlier and maybe even Martha. Anytime you see a photographer out there with a camera taking pictures, feel free to stop. You know, photographers are like grandparents and their grandkids. Every one of them will be willing to show you some pictures. So, or they'll let you look through their camera if they got it on a tripod. So never be too shy to come up and say hello to someone. This was taken a couple of days ago. Both of them just sat in the tree at sunset, which is a pretty normal activity for them. As many pictures as I have, and I got probably a million like that, but I never get tired of them. They're just beautiful animals. So if you get out one morning, early morning, and you get out there early enough and you get the morning light, you might just be lucky enough to see one of these guys fly by right in front of you.
Hi. Does anybody have a question for Alan? Out there. Go ahead and give it to me, Ron. Our sponsor, by the way.
Oh, thank you. What size lens are you shooting? When your little flyby that you showed at the very end there?
What size lenses were you
800.
using?
800? Thank you.
800.
800.
Any other questions?
It's only goes to 800.
800 what? 800 pounds?
Pretty close. 800 millimeters. So 90% of the time it's just right. 10% of the time it's too much lens. But you learn to live with it. But I would say there are a lot of times you're going to need a pretty good size lens. 600 millimeters is probably a good place to be for most people.
Excellent. Adi?
Yeah, not a question for Alan, but a general question, especially from the parks officials. Would there be support in this community in the future when we have a new nest to install a Nest camera?
We've covered the Nest camera, and to sum up what Brett had talked about, is that the difficulty is getting the angle onto the nest. And right now, the best angle would require that it would take a very large and heavy crane truck to get a Nest camera up there. And to do that, they would have to go on the backside of the tree, so they're going to be in a very wet area, and that's going to crush the roots of the tree. Cottonwoods, like all trees, they have a lot of roots that are very shallow. And so that would probably lead to the death of the tree within 3 years. So the issue is being able to put up a Nest cam without destroying either the tree or the environment around it. Because it does take very big equipment to get that high up. How high would you say that nest is up in the air?
It's right at about
90 feet? Wow, 90 feet up in the air. So you're requiring some big cranes and some big things. But there's new technology all the time, and they're looking into it. We all missed when they were over there in the rugby field, because there was a lady, Nancy, and she was able to put a Nest cam right outside her second floor bedroom window. And and of course, you absolutely cannot fly drones near the nest, so we can't use that technology. But it's, if it's going to be possible, they're going to be exploring it. And just a note, some of the best stuff that these photographers did was beaten up on some drone flyers.
Yes.
I mean, I think they scared the poop out of these guys. I haven't seen them back, so, yeah. Well, thank you, Alan.
Thank you for.
Okay, coming down the home stretch here. So you read about him in the Dallas Morning News. In fact, you can see the article. It's posted in the hallway going to the art gallery. And he was sweating it out, an afternoon outreach at the Stone Tables called Conservation Conversations. So Chris Morris is the Dallas Park and Recreation Lead Environmental Coordinator, and he knows education is the key to reducing interpersonal conflict and enhancing nature appreciation. Oh, you should have seen the glowing letter to the editor about him today in the Dallas Morning News. The dude can talk about anything and do it with humor. Plus, he has pockets of wonder. That he can find anything. He has so much stuff in his pockets, it's like a magician pulling rabbits out of hats. He's got everything he needs to work. A round of applause for Chris Morris. And he drove in from Greenville, Texas.
I know she's being mean to me, but watch
Oh, I gotta zoom out.
Extra power cords, tree tape measures. Got my personal cell phone, got my work cell phone, wallet, yeah. And all this demonstration. I'm not as tall as Brett, but I am decently tall. Good evening. If you guys haven't met me before, and if you haven't seen me out on literally every Thursday since the beginning of this year, it was a little bit of a program that Brett and I were kind of hatching out. Christmas of 2025, we were looking into our different outreach numbers and our public engagements, and I was like, well, I'll just create a new program. And then I was just toying around with some alliterations and some wordplay, stuff like that. I noticed that conservation and conversation have literally the exact same letters. You just switch the S and the V in the two words. And so I created a whole new program, Conservation Conversations. I've got some of the signs out there. I initially thought that I would do this in a lot of different sectors. It just kind of happened to latch on really well with the Eagles. It had a really nice spot since they're at this current season over there at Dreyfus/Sunset. It's got a nice little pavilion there. It's got all the little stone tables and stuff like that, so you can sit at and have a good conversation. Some more background on me. I am from Texas A&M. I got a zoology degree. So Brett is the wildlife biologist. I'm more the species specialist. I've been working at the Houston Zoo, the Fort Worth Zoo, and the Dallas Zoo. I was actually snatched from the Dallas Zoo to work for water utilities in the city of Dallas. I was a wetland delineator, basically just looking at all the different species there, how we can improve our wetlands. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we have some wetlands that have been remediated since 2014. We even have a wetlands at the zoo. That was one of the projects that I was starting up as I was leaving from there. Interesting enough, the Eagles were one of the interview questions that Brett posed to me when I was interviewing for replacing him as urban biologist in 2023. And basically there was just a lot of different logistics from working with the public, working with the park side, what is our conventional ways of handling things, what is the logistical things that we can handle within our purview and stuff like that, and then what's kind of our ideals or wants or goals. And so luckily enough, you'll notice that before I started as an urban biologist, we did not have any successful nests. The first year we had one successful chick, year 2 we had 2, year 3 we had 3. I cannot make any promises. 2027, I'll work on 4, but it's never really happened before, so don't count on it. Just working through all the different challenges that Brett mentioned before too, especially again, walking back on that Nest camera. It is just really neat that these other places all throughout the country have some really great Nest cameras. One of the things you'll notice that if you look at the Florida cameras or you look at the California cameras, what trees are those in? I am a certified arborist. I've been one for better part of a decade, so is Brett. The tree that we're in right now is a eastern cottonwood, which are fine trees in their own rights. They are very much wetland specialists, whereas you look at all the other eagle trees, they are either facultative or obligates on a highland area or an upland area. And they're all going to be E-current pines. Literally, you know, one of the best nets is Jackie and Shadow out there in California. They got a really nice big Douglas fir. Jeffrey pine. So looking at that, our trees here in the Dallas area and most of North Texas aren't the strongest ones. You look at one of the more successful nests that we have here in North Texas, which is out there at John Barker Sands. They started nesting actually in an electrical pylon. That didn't really go copacetic with Encore, so they knocked down that first nest, and then they learned that the public really liked their eagles, so they were able to use a decommissioned pylon and set it up about 100 meters off to the right, and so they were able to rebuild their nest there. I don't have that option in the White Rock Lake area. There is a White Rock Lake master plan that kind of forbids me from doing any structures over 5 stories, which of course is right where 100 feet would be. And then, as Brett also mentioned too, cottonwoods. Does anyone know what cottonwoods are made out of?
Cotton.
Yeah! But yes, truthfully, it is one of the weaker woods. What they were in earlier was an American sycamore, which is a truly awesome tree as far as being an E-current, which is very stiff and is a nice, strong central leader. You'll notice in this cottonwood, and as Brett mentioned as well too, there's actually 2 cottonwoods, and they're kind of married at the bottom there, and then they kind of spread out. They're in the larger main stem of it, but even then when it gets to the nest there, it's got these large boughs and branches that are coming off of there. So all of these different pieces where you see 2 things come apart are moments for failure. And that was one of the best and worst things about that poor American sycamore over there on the Dixon branch nest, is it had 4 nice, really good branches on it. And those branches lasted till roughly about halfway through 2024, and then we lost kind of like the ring finger one. So they still had a 5-foot gap between these first 2, and then sort of a 7 to 10-foot gap. But then, as we also watched in that really nice video, but not so nice because the nest did fail pretty much permanently there, it lost the kind of middle finger there. So basically, if you can think there, between my index and my pinky finger, it would be a 20-foot gap in there. So there is no possible way to set up a nest that needs to be the size of a bald eagle nest. Has anyone ever seen the full size of a bald eagle nest? Yeah, a lot of the different national and state parks will actually have the ones there, and some of the ones that are for the northern subspecies of eagles, they can get to be 6 feet across, and basically a whole 6-foot diameter. Ours is a good 4 feet in one direction, 3.5 this way, 2 in this way, and about 3 foot tall. It's kind of crouched in there, but I like how this one is proportioned because the other one, the sycamore, they put their nest on top of the red-tailed hawk nest. So it was kind of precariously perched on top of that, and that's why I got so much wind, and I think that's why I had so many failures. Again, with cottonwoods, it's in a marsh, and cottonwoods have a lot of water in them. If I am running a camera that is inside that tree, it's going to have an electrical cable, whether we have it with solar or if it has direct connect down to a power line that's over by the toilets. That line has copper. Does anyone know what a lightning rod is? And pretty much everyone who's had one of these really nice centennial trees and stuff like that, you'll see their tree protection. They've got to run several different lightning cables through a tree so that the tree doesn't get hit by lightning. And this tree doesn't have any of those cables right now, and if we added any there, that just ups the likeliness of a lightning strike. Does anyone know what lightning does to a bald eagle? Yeah, I mean, it was really good shot for the cameraman and stuff like that with the background, but lightning hits an eagle, then it's an ecological disaster that I have to handle, which has been really fun. I never really kind of experienced this much kind of media kind of attention and or kind of like public outreach for a type of position. So it's been really neat learning this, and especially working with the different educational groups. I call you all guys my camera corps that are always out there, and it's really interesting. As mentioned before there too by Alan, basically all the camera men, women, people and stuff like that They are kind of like your grandpa that will show you their pictures. I've seen so many Canons, Sonys, Nikons, and all the different ones I can't name. As he mentioned before, they'll tell you the difference between a 600 millimeter versus an 800. They'll tell you which one is a wide angle lens, fish angle lens. If you want to know anything and everything about the whole photography thing, just sit there for 5 minutes and someone will tell you something about it. And they are quick to share their binoculars with their cameras and stuff like that. For my conservation conversations, I bring out a whole set of binoculars there. I've had kid groups there. In the past, we actually were able to tie in with the Dallas Academy that is right up there on Lake Highlands and Tiffany. They actually had a small web camera that was on the 2024 nest and also the 2022 nest. They had some pretty good angles for. But this one here is just, it doesn't really work for one that's inside the tree. When you go to build something outside the tree, then we've got a whole bunch of spacing issues. A free standing object's gonna have to have guy wires. Those guy wires are gonna go straight through that playground. Does anyone know how many playgrounds we have on the east side of the lake? What is the most popular one?
That one.
And so it just so happens when they were building this nest back there in October, all the kids were in school, so we didn't have that large about a group. And then we still don't have eggs in the nest when everyone's on winter break. And then it is right around spring break that the eggs hatch out. So that was gonna be a thing of how are they gonna react having a whole bunch of these small little sapiens running around in cars, bicyclists. We have equestrians at the lake too. So there's a whole bunch of these different groups that enjoy the park. And White Rock Lake is a park that's made up of several different districts. And so all of it is for different types of recreation. I can't legitimately say your recreation is wrong versus this one. So I've got to allow all those different elements, allow everyone to kind of enjoy that park. So when we went to shutting it down, I went kind of at a phased way of doing it. And then most of the time, I just shove it at Brett since he is my manager. And if anything goes wrong, it's Brett's fault. If it's a great idea, it's Brett's idea. Just know that there was an email earlier about that Chris said, hey Brett, this is a great idea. And Brett goes, yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna put it out, so. But no, definitely, we worked really great together. He's my older brother and things, and I just kind of tossed ideas over to him. One of the things was how was I going to close off a road? Legitly, East Lothair is a park road. It's a public road as well as it's also entirely contained by the park system. So at any legit time, I can just call reservations and say, hey, I'm going to be closing down this portion of it. I notify the park board rep, I notify the city council member, and I can close down that part. But I didn't want to do that because how many people like going fishing at Dreyfus? How many people like getting really good shots? It's actually the best place to get a sunset at, even though we have a nice place that's called Sunset Bay. Dreyfus with the hill there, and then you got the western sun coming over, the filter building and TAP Hill and stuff like that. It gives you nice, really shots of this lake. So logistically, ecologically, and all that stuff, there's a lot of things just to consider. As long as they were up in the tree, I felt that I could let people pass. We had the ability to kind of get really kind of close. One of the other neat things too was learning the different federal regulations. Who do you think trumps each other in the federal regulations? Would it be the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, for that is our only ADA rated restroom in the entirety of the lake, as well as the World Migratory Bird Act of 1912, which no one ever heard of, and then you got the Golden Bald Eagle Act too from the late 60s. With those ones, we're rolling back a lot of protections on the environmental sector as we are doing now, so it's getting harder and harder to try to protect some of these species, especially kind of from a biological or biologist standpoint. And even then, bald eagles are no longer considered endangered. They are just on the up type of critical / near threatened. So luckily enough, since the nice little book of Silent Spring, we've kind of cleaned up our different habits as humans. We've gotten a little bit better with our chemical use. So our bald eagles have made quite the big springback and flying and stuff. So it's been really nice there. Just want to say thank you guys, and this is a lovely presentation and a lovely event. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking with you guys. As far as how conservation conversations will be, I'm looking at a couple of different rec centers. We'll probably still do some Eagle talks, but if you guys notice, February the 5th through roughly the 17th of this year, I was actually able to get goats out, just literally right outside. So you guys can go look at those prairie units, which is 6 and 7 out of the 15 different prairie units that we have all around our lake area. It's been really neat to use that alternative vegetation management versus the conventional mowers or tractors and stuff like that. And so they can actually help me with removing invasives because the mammalian stomach actually digests and degrades down seeds versus if I mow over it with a tractor, it literally disperses those seeds from Queen Anne's lace, Johnson grass, and such and so forth. And I think I'm past my 6 minutes, more than likely because Brett will get antsy if I go over stuff. Do I have any questions?
Hey, where'd you get those cool eagle habitat signs?
Oh yes, a really neat thing is I worked with a lot of Eagle Scouts. So I had the opportunity in 2024 when we had our first chicks being hatched out to work with an Eagle Scouts, and so we got the habitat signs out there posted with the different regulations.
One question.
What would be the proper course of action if someone were to see an injured bald eagle? I know a lot of people probably follow the Jackie and Shadow nest and have seen the video of Jackie being injured, and apparently it took like hours for them to find someone to come help. So who would we call around here?
Okay. So the question was, what is the proper course of action if you see an injured wildlife? And on top of this, eagles have an extra layer of protection on top of just normal wildlife. So with normal wildlife, we have things like the DFW Wildlife Hotline that assist us with baby squirrels, raccoons, possums. With eagles and really any kind of bird, Rogers is our nearest and best kind of location for birds in general, but they generally deal with waterfowl. A really neat thing is that here in Lucas, Texas, and they're here today. I can't see because the lights are in my eyes, but I met them back out there. We have the Blackland Prairie Raptor Center. And so when we first found the juvenile from 2024 and it was in the backyard of Nancy's house, we took it down to Rogers because when I was calling Blackland Prairie, it was before they opened. So I got a lot of voicemails. Also too, that was the same day that we were having issues with the cell phone carriers and stuff. It was right after that kind of El Derecho straight line wind storm of Memorial Day in 2024. So there were communication issues. Who you would want to contact. So luckily here in DFW, Blackland Prairie would handle all of our different raptors. That is from our tiny little American kestrels all the way up to our largest one, which is our bald eagles. All of those different raptors, they were really great handled at Blackland Prairie. For our smaller songbirds, there are some actual independent wildlife rehabbers. So again, I kind of advertise that DFW hotline to call in. There are different rehabbers in different cities. So if you're in Rowlett, you won't have to drive all the way over to Weatherford to find your closest wildlife rehabber. I really wish in Texas that we had a better network or provider that showed us where all the different rehabbers are. They're still kind of working on that support. But basically, call Blackland Prairie, and then if all else fails, I've got cards out there. You can call me, and then I will direct you in a place.
Short answer, we already have an agreement with Texas Parks and Wildlife and Fish and Wildlife Service, so Chris or I are contacting either one of us to be captured.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
So I've been a huge fan of Nick DeGennaro for years. Heck, I admired him when he was a musician, playing guitar. He graciously provided almost all of the bird photos for Wild DFW, including one, for some reason, white-tailed deer. But it's a great picture. Some of the most talked about photos in Wild DFW are the ones that Nick took. He spends hours on his craft almost every day. The dude is really a genuine hot star. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for that, Amy. I did put the dates on most of these pictures because I'm a disaster with dates and times, but I do have them sort of, there's some continuity between the first ones and then I have a few from next year, or last year, which I really like. So this was them breaking out in song prior to what we've already seen. And the fly-off was pretty interesting here. I wonder if there's any words exchanged. That was February 4th. And February 6th, we got a taste of. 2 days later, I'm thinking that she's thinking, what did we get ourselves into? This was at 7:23 a.m. on February 6th. So the light is just barely coming across. You can see it on the branches there, and some of it just happened to be falling on her there. This was 20 minutes later, and that's the nest tree. And just give you a little different perspective on it. So the next one, I just enjoyed the shot with the fish. This is before any of the young ones came along. A little bit of a portrait. That's on February 8th. And this is also February 8th. And, it is pretty tight, as you heard mentioned, in the nest. These are just two. And Nick is getting some feathers right in the eye. Usually you see that nictitating membrane come down over the eye. In fact, it happens every time they turn their head. The membrane comes down. It's like a reflex to protect the eyes. But it's pretty tight. In fact, if you stand anywhere near the tree they're flying into, you can hear their wings often slapping against the branches or the trunk. This next one I just thought was kind of fun. A bit about their eyes. The bald eagles, well, let's say humans have one fovea in each eye. In other words, one focal point in each eye, and they're both sort of angled together. But bald eagles have 2 per eye. And so the smaller ones are actually forward, and the larger area is at a 45-degree angle, according to David Allen Sibley. In his book, it's a great book called What's It Like to Be a Bird? So a lot of times you think they're looking at you. I like to think they're looking at me. Who knows? But he's probably looking out to the side at something more interesting. This is pretty early, March 30th, and this was the very first shot that I saw a creature, a space creature as it is, in the nest. And I posted this one and the next one, and someone said there actually are 2 in the nest, and pointed out to me, the photographer, the one on the right, which you just barely see in between those leaves. So that's when we kind of knew that there were 2. And then later on, you saw a couple of wonderful shots of the 3 of them. But this is March 30th, and I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks old. Right? What do you think, guys? Yeah. And let's see, I have a little gap actually. April, I was really sick with bronchitis for 3 weeks. So let's go to the next one. This is March 30th. So, actually, May 10th, I'm sorry. And there's just a feeding in the nest, which I enjoyed, a little tug of war. This was the first shot on May 20th where I saw one of the eaglets branch, which means they're climbing out of the nest and climbing around. So he seemed to perch up there for a while and then came down when there's, this is the next, okay, this is a later one. There was a fish delivery. And the dynamic in the nest is pretty interesting, which I guess I'll get more into as we go on. Yeah, there's an example of likely number one as far as hatching order, biting. I believe number two. Number three wouldn't really go near, but number two got a little too close while he grabbed the fish and was ingesting it, and he got a little too interested, so number one let him know who's boss. This was after this one fell out of the nest, and it was early in the morning, and there weren't any authorities, and this guy is right next to the road. And you can see these posts, and this is road down here. And I could see a couple of cyclists came through, runners that were going around the barriers. So I went past the barrier across the street, and I thought, let me try to avert a potential disaster if one should occur. And of course, while I was there, I thought I'd take a few pictures. So here he was practicing his jump skills and flapping, and he missed that one. You can see the cinders coming up, and next one, pretty intense as he's eyeing these posts flying from one to the next. And this is my favorite one of the bunch, with the talons out, just looking at that. Perch like there's no way it's getting away from him. And at the end, he seemed kind of introspective, but maybe just tired. He was tired apparently. He just kind of sat there for a while. Oh, this was kind of interesting.
I love this one.
The shadow with the phoenix shape. Somebody accused me of photoshopping it in. I wasn't. That's just the way it occurred. I mean, it looks odd because the light's coming from a different angle from where I am. But the head and the wing tips really look like either the Firebird, the Pontiac Firebird emblem, or the phoenix. That was on June 12th. And this is another one which I like to think of as eye to eye. Who knows if he's really making eye contact with me, or if he's got the peripheral thing happening. Oh, this year will bring up this is a topic I wanted to cover, and I don't think there'll be any disagreement between us photographers, but because we've talked about this quite a bit. Which one do you think is bigger there? Yeah, but I think the top one is number one, and number one's a male. So I was thinking, okay, females are 25% larger than males. But hatching order, while they're in the nest, rules. The first one to hatch is gobbling up the food, and it's going to have maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days growth and food consumption on the third eaglet for sure. So at what point does sex overcome hatching order? I sort of did some AI searching and such, and they pulled up several things. It looks like, in fact, it knows me well. You know, it's in Texas. They thought 8 to day. AI thought it was 8 to 10 weeks of age that a female that's second hatched will be more aggressive than the male. So I think we agree that which one we think is which. And I've consulted with Ing Ho, also known as Emily, who's there 5 to 6 days a week when she has been. And I've talked with her, we discussed all these details.
We also agreed that all the females were always more aggressive.
Not just in the photos. So, the next thing, which one do you think is the female?
Farther one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's bulky. You can also tell by the beak too. I think that's probably as they get older. I think it's probably more pronounced. But I do think the one on the left, even though it's a tad closer, has a longer and bulkier beak. So the next one I think I have is the chaos when the fish is dropped. I mean, it's just nuts. And Nick looks like, gosh, I mean, look how small he looks
Yeah,
compared to
he's
what's
nice.
going on there. He always has that distant look like, when will this be over? That was July 8th, so not too long. Next, please. This is my favorite one of the action shots of the Eagle to Row. Yeah, the resolution here is not quite accommodating. But this one here, I'm guessing that that's the male, and the young one, young female, number 3, had the fish dropped off, and so they're all coming to grab that fish. Yeah, that's all you see is wings flapping, and usually Nick will say, "I'm out of here." While the, why don't you do the next one? Yeah, that's probably the same thing, but Nick seems to like to fly by and drag the fish right by their face so they can smell that fish and hopefully come after it and wrestle it from them to instill the steal, fight, or die, as they disperse. That's just the last one I had of those two together, and they're also thinking, soon this will be over. There's only one eaglet left at this point. And what I saw Nora do, she flew to a log in the lake, and the youngest, number 3, is up in the tree on the dead branches looking down, and I could see she was taking an interest in what's in the water. And she flew off and came down, talons first, right into the water, which is not the usual way. I mean, most of the time, gosh, 95% of the time, they are flying quickly over the water, shifting back, and then as they're over the target, the talons come straight down into the water, perpendicular over the target, to grab it and pull the fish behind them. This, she's right down on top of it. You can see the splashing in front of the water. You can also see it's Nora. I don't think anybody's mentioned the damaged eye, but you can see the eye's not very clear here. I was out of town when that happened, so I don't really know if there was a story, if anybody saw her, but she clearly has a damaged eye. So, Yeah, she went, and you can see the fish is still flapping, and she's riding that like it's their version of bull riding. And so she flies it out next. And it's a nice, long catfish. And she really wasn't able to enjoy much of it because the uninvited guests came for lunch, as usually is the case. And she took that. Interesting thing though, because how many days later, you just go to the next one? I'm thinking she was up there on those dead branches watching, and then flew down, and I thought it was going to land on this mud flap like usual. And I'm glad I kept firing because she came down front, and you can't really, I don't know how far away that is from, because I'm far away with that. I mean, it could be 2 feet, 5 feet, I have no idea. But she's yanking a fish, and that fish is flapping.
Oh, she got her own fish.
Emily got a video of it, and it's flapping. Plus, I saw it flapping like crazy. So I was really surprised that she got a live fish, because I hadn't seen them pull out a dead fish or anything. So that is the chapter of this year, ending with the number 3, and of course she's gone, a few days later, 5 days later maybe. This is from 2024, where that was the first time I guess it was doing the same thing. Alan was on the other side of the lake with Craig, and it was in the cottonwood. It flew down, and I thought it's going to fish. I ran to the lake, and it was diving, jumping into the water with the talons. And here's not wanting to get its wings wet. And the next one is similar, but look at the splash in the front. So I really didn't think it was a fish. I guess it was. It was unsuccessful for 20 minutes doing this, but I was able to get a number of these shots, which was just really, really exciting for me. That was just such a blast. And you're gonna think I photoshopped, oh no, this one's just a portrait. This was in front of Nancy's house. Another one with sort of eye contact and seeing the fish tucked under the wing, partially eaten. And there were lots of, that was poor 24.
That was Henley.
That was 2 years ago, right? So that's
That's Henley.
He was always screaming. And like I say, Nick has this habit of flying over them, and so they could smell that fish going by. This next one. This was also in front of Nancy's house.
I remember that.
And it was crazy. And unfortunately, I missed the best shot, which I had no idea. But this squirrel was playing peekaboo. It was just running up and going back down again. And the eagle was just kind of looking over at it. It went up. I don't know if it's before or after. I think it was after this, right after this. It poked its nose right into the eagle's beak, and the eagle flinched backwards. And a lot of times people would think, couldn't the eagle get it? But that's really, I guess, not their playground. And we got just a couple more. Yeah, this was, somebody else had this shot, but from a different year. This was 2024, I think. Yeah, anyway. And then, that was really one of my favorite photos, very early in the morning, 7:23 a.m. And the light is just really, just barely coming into that part of the bay, and I'm on the Dreyfus side. And my last one, early again, 7:13, by the stone tables. They used to perch here. Either they would come in before dawn, and would sit there for a while, and then as the lights started to come up, they would go their own separate ways. But you can see that pre-dawn color, it's like lots of violets and pinkish. I think it's all for me, folks. Thank you.
Y'all have any questions specifically for Nick? No, you can chat. I see it on hand right there.
So this is sort of about their habit. How much food are they having to provide for these babies?
How much fish?
Yeah.
Well, initially when they're small, I guess not that much, but they were bringing them and throwing them into the nest at first. The nest became the feeding area, and it was all throughout the day towards the, as they're getting ready to fledge. Because don't forget, I mean, they're eating as much as adults by that time, and yeah, and so they have to keep the fish coming.
Will they overfish the lake?
Yeah, I don't know how there's any fish. Have you ever seen the number of pelicans that are there in the winter? And the cormorants.
Cormorants.
Cormorants are gracious as well. Did it stop, right? It stopped every other year?
Yeah, it's stocked on years.
Really?
Keep in mind, when you get out past, when it gets out past 6 to 8 feet deep, it's actually one of the strongest fisheries in Christmas.
Wow.
Didn't know that. Yeah, that's amazing. You wonder, where there's so many large catfish.
My question is, what does this nest smell like?
Yeah, right?
It has all the bones, right? Everything that they've eaten pretty much is in the nest. So you can sometimes see flies and things around. I guess they cover it with moss and stuff eventually, but it's got to be nasty.
Luckily, most birds can't smell except for vultures.
Oh, all right, hand for Nick.
All right.
One event, one show, the e-gals have learned a lot about how to present this next year. You can see all of this, we're going to leave it again on White Rock, WR Eagle. Anyway, just put in White Rock Eagles if you do. All the photographers, the park dudes, the e-gals, the bathhouse folks, thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see you again next year. How about it?
Amen.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
If you want to get more in depth with your questions, we'll be outside.
All right. I'm gonna end that, and I will cut off the first 45 minutes so it's not so long.